Okay, I think I'm live on everything. Good morning, everybody. I hope you're well. Whoa, what a trading day yesterday, huh? Who would have thought that someone launching a trade war would create such volatility? Well, I imagine all of us had an inkling that that was going to happen. But I'd like to take you through the charts today. The markets are opening in approximately 4 minutes. And I just need to synchronize my trading from my laptop. So let's see. I'll make sure that my laptop is, should be running. Yeah, I think it's pretty much up to date. So the markets will open in 2 minutes and 30 odd seconds. And we have had a response from China. And that response obviously is a retaliation. Yesterday's rally, and I so want to take you through this because I think yesterday was really interesting, and it was just so unfortunate that I lost connection. But so what happened yesterday? There we go. So what happened yesterday was that the measures against Canada and Mexico were temporarily put on hold to quote unquote give the countries an opportunity to strengthen their border force to stem the flow of fentanyl. By the way, I don't know if you remember this last year, but when I traveled in around America and Canada, I posted some pretty horrifying images from, particularly in Vancouver. At least I think I did. I walked around the streets of Vancouver and took some photos of the, shall we say, the victims of the fentanyl crisis in North America, and it's truly horrifying. It's I suppose when you grow up in a country like Denmark where you don't see the swings in favorable or unfavorable economic conditions as you perhaps see in other places in the world, it was truly shocking just to see what I saw. Streets and streets in Vancouver just lined with drug addicts, lying, basically, just strung out. And so the whole impetus for this supposedly trade war is to stem the flow of fentanyl, which I think that in itself is we can discuss that at length. I don't think that's a conversation I want to have right now. But it is true that there is a problem, and a rather significant one. But anyway, so they put that on hold yesterday, and I can't say that I knew anything about that. But down here we had, and this is really important, and I want to discuss that at length with you, both in the review video. But down here, what you're seeing here is basically the school run triggering a short position in the Dow. I want to show you the same story in the Nasdaq. So if you can just bear with me. And don't worry if you don't get the lesson immediately, because I will go over this again. So you're seeing here in the Nasdaq how the market goes below the trigger bar. But what's important, there really is an internet issue as well. I hope that I'm coming through loud and clear. You must tell me if I'm not. But just know at this time there's not so much I can do about it. But you can see when I'm clicking the mouse, it's delayed. So what is important in this context is that the school run trigger bar triggers a short position here in the Dow and triggers a short position here in the Nasdaq. And the Nasdaq gave me a bit more sweat, but instead of selling short, I actually bought it. And the reason why I did that was because the whole thing took place within a trading range, and that is a filter that I would very much like to teach you and consider incorporating into my approach to school run. What it essentially meant yesterday was that I bought the Dow right here, and as entries go, you just don't get any better entries than that. It was just phenomenal. And of course, in my role as an educator, I very much like to teach you why. So this one was a really sweet trade. This one here worked out sweet, but my God, did it made me sweat, because it just didn't seem to have any, it didn't seem to stop at any place of interest in particular. But I will of course cover this in great length. Now let's go over to the FTSE. And let's go over to the DAX. So in approximately 30 seconds, the first 5-minute bar is going to be complete. I don't know if you recall this, but yesterday's 5-minute bar in the FTSE was a strange looking bar. It's right here, this one here. I'll hold the cursor to the right of it, and I had some of my viewers tell me that their first bar was actually positive. You can see here that mine is pretty much unchanged. Their first bar was positive, whilst others reported that theirs was negative. Those who had a negative bar, well, they actually had an opportunity to buy below prior bar low. Good for them. Unfortunately for me, I decided that I didn't want to do that, because I couldn't figure out whether this bar was positive or whether it was negative. And then as an merit of that, I didn't take a sell short either if it had been a first bar positive. So it was confusing morning for the first bar in the FTSE. What you're seeing here is a first bar negative setting up in the FTSE, so I'm going to have to be a buyer here, and I've done just that. Let me just post that in the Telegram channel. So the reason why I'm buying the FTSE here is because the first bar is negative, and my strategy says that I want to be a buyer below. My stop loss is currently 18 points away. Let me just check. Yeah, that seems okay. So my entry, so the low is 8551, and I bought it 8500. It has so far been as low as 47. Sometimes I think I can actually do better with my entries than I currently am. But let me just type this into Telegram, because that's where I also post my trade entries. There we go, that's done. Let me just show you the oh, there we go, it took a little while. Didn't see. Let's look at the DAX. I don't know if you can see this, but my charts load really slow, and that's a result of the somewhat sketchy connection I have. It's extremely cold here, and it's also been wet, and I think that just does a number on the connection. At least that's the explanation you get when you call the teller company. Whether that's just an excuse or not, I don't know, excuse me. So if we're looking at the DAX on a 15-minute chart, you will quite quickly be able to see that we are trading within the range of the overnight. So you don't have to be too scientific about establishing that range. It's just sort of taking it from midnight, your midnight, my midnight. It doesn't make that much of a difference. It's just, can you sort of eyeball, is it trading within that range? And it is. Yeah, it did look. Just have a quick peek above it, but we're back into the trading range. I have a function on the software that I use, and it basically tells me where the market closed yesterday. I'll do the same for the FTSE. So the FTSE is significantly gapped down while the DAX is not. I'm just going to close down these US charts. You can see what the price is in the FTSE here in the tab, while I'm keeping an eye on the DAX. someone has reported that there seems to be a 30-second lag on YouTube today. That's obviously very distressing if that's the case. But if it is the case, then I suggest you use my divergent instead. Hopefully that should be better. My FTSE is not working. Whilst others are reporting that they have no meaningful lag in YouTube, some are saying a couple of seconds. Anyway. While I was checking what the lag was, I saw a couple of questions coming in. One question was, why did you buy the FTSE there? I thought you only traded the school run, which is someone asking me, which obviously reveals a disturbing lack of understanding for what it is that I do, which is fine, but considering the school run bar hasn't even developed yet. The school run bar is the second 15-minute bar, which hasn't even formed yet. It's only just this very second begun. Then suffice to say that this person is ignorant. And by the way, ignorance is not an insult. Ignorance just means you haven't been schooled in it. But I provide many files in my resource channel for people to read up on, and I kind of was hoping that people would actually do that as opposed to just asking me. Second question was a little better. This person saying, why are you only trading £100,000 account? Someone with your means must have the ability to trade with much bigger accounts. That's true, but there's several reasons. Some are centered around the constraints that brokers will provide. So for example, I trade with this broker here, and they provide me with 200 times leverage, and that means that if I, for example, trade the Nasdaq and my normal trading size is £200 per point, you will see that the margin that is required for that is 21,000, which is well within the parameters of having a £100,000 account. And I can add about 4 times to this position, which means I can build up a position of £800 in the Nasdaq, which is absolutely ample for me. It's just fine. The other one is that I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if you have any need to know this, but brokers will put a limit to how much you can trade per click. So for example, this broker here is one of those brokers that will actually allow you to trade quite big size in one hit and still get a fixed price. So I trade the Nasdaq at 0.8. This is the outer market, but it's fixed. This doesn't change. I try to trade a trade with IC markets that has a decent spread in the FTSE and the DAX. But when I was trading it in my normal size, which is 200, that spread that they were offering they're offering at about 0.7, but it's not fixed. And if you put in on their C Trader platform and you wanted to execute £200 a point, you end up paying a spread of closer to 6 or 7 points in the DAX as opposed to 0.9. So there's a limit to how much a broker will fill you at one price. Most people will never ever get anywhere near that. Most people will have a stake size around 5 or 10. So even though I could have a much bigger account on the account that I don't trade here publicly, there's really no need for it. And then the final reason, I also feel that a big account does tend to foster a less disciplined approach, because you're thinking, oh, well, there's so much money in the account. But by having a certain fixed account size, it enforces a discipline, saying, well, I'm not refunding this. This is the amount of money that's going in there and nothing more. So there's a discipline, a mental discipline associated with it as well. Excuse me. I'm drinking this herb supplement and sometimes it gets a bit of a in my throat. I realize I haven't discussed my losing trade in the DAX yesterday, and I would very much like to address that, because I think there's a lesson in there if you don't mind. So the DAX yesterday was trading within the overnight range, which meant that when we exceeded the high of the second 15-minute candle, I decided to sell short right up here. And it was a pretty good trade. It went about 20, 30 or so points in my favor. I moved stop loss to break even, and then I moved stop loss down, so I made 7 points. But what I think is quite interesting is what happened next. You know, interesting is perhaps a strong word for someone who is not initiated in this, but I decided to be a buyer of the DAX here. Let me just show you. Which was at 21,314, which is here. And the reason why I did that is because we went below the low of the school run bar, but within a trading range. And that meant to be long here where my line is right now. So there, it's a bit disturbing with that box there. I can try to get rid of that. Just show you the FTSE is in profit now. That's good. Better than a loss, right? Excuse me. So it meant that I wanted to be a buyer down here below the low of this bar. And that's basically what I call the anti-school run. However, what's interesting is that I realized after going along this that the brunch break bar, you see this here? This is bar number 7. So let me just count for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have done an extensive amount of research on what bars are interesting to trade and concluded that the 7th 15-minute bar after the open in the DAX is an interesting one because it seems to be at that point where buyers or sellers are giving up the ghost of fighting the market and it's free to trend, so to speak. And it actually produced a good short signal. As you can see, it actually went quite a lot lower. It went from, it triggered around 21,330 and the market went 270, 268. So it was a 60-point move. However, I was long from here and I placed a stop loss here at 271. I mean, you almost can't make this up, but it happened. Because I can show you my account, it happened. And the market went 268. I can show you here by holding over. My stop loss was at 271. Do you see how the low is 268? And it was 268 on a spike. And then the market rallied. So it presented me with a bit of a conundrum because I could argue a case for being long, but I could also argue a case for being short. And, well, I chose poorly. And afterwards I asked myself whether doing a school run, anti-school run on the flip, because it had actually triggered short. And I realized I probably hadn't done extensive enough research on that. Anyway, I didn't trade recklessly. I had a stop loss in. I could defend what I was doing. But it was afterwards I realized that could have been argued differently. Maybe I'm overthinking it. So we're looking at the DAX. Some of the research documentation that I'm currently writing up is the espresso. So the espresso range this morning was 490 to 454. That meant a long position at 490, call it plus 20. So that would have been 510. Market didn't go 510. Market went 56. And a short position would have triggered at 454 minus 20, which is 434. So if I scroll down there, you'll see that that comes in here. Right here. That would have been espresso would have been a good trade this morning. Let me get rid of the closing price. There we go. The two lines you're seeing here is the aggressive school run. Some days I take them, some days I don't. So we have a few moments away from the second 15-minute bar completing. FTSE reversing. Again, it was in profit temporarily. So what's going to happen now is that, let me show you the 15-minute bar. What's going to happen here is that once this bar completes, I will either buy on close or I'll wait for the market to trade below this low. And the reason why I am not doing the school run but doing the anti-school run, and I'll hold up my responsibility, is because we are trading within the overnight range. So we'll see. It would seem that that could be a target down here, 296. So I may just reduce my trading size a tiny bit because it looks like it requires a bigger stop loss. So I'll just do it free. So here we go. I'm buying the DAX now. It's basically just when the DAX actually closes at the low, instead of waiting for it to go below, I just buy it at close. So let me just put that in. Uh, 21,367. That's rare. It's quite rare you actually get a fill price with no digits. So this is basically just called a buy on close, because you closed at the lows. You could tell within a second of the bar closing. Stop loss is 21,307. Okay. Oh, my FTSE is not doing well. I don't think I'm going to escape being stopped out in the FTSE. I think I'll show you my account instead so you can see it. There you go. So here's a more compressed picture of the DAX. The school run has triggered short. I have done the opposite. I've done the anti, because I'm arguing that it's taking place within the overnight trading range. So it seems as if the FTSE is retesting this break area. There's actually a name for this pattern here. You see this breakout here? When we trade below the low of that pattern there, which we just have, it sets up a pattern called the trapdoor. The trapdoor pattern just basically states there's going to be so many people who will have stop losses below the low of this bar here. I thought that they had been cleaned out yesterday, but it seems as if we're doing a retest of the area. I want to see what it looks like on the hourly chart. I could be tempted to be a buyer here. With a small stop loss, we'll see if I get an opportunity around 21. Although technically it's already been down there because it went 22. Here are my open positions. The DAX is also going against me. I'm debating with myself, do I short a trapdoor entry here in anticipation that's a significant trend change, or do I buy what I think is going to be support here at 21? DAX doesn't seem to have any signs of wanting to slow down, going lower. My stop loss is in a really unfortunate place, as you can see. The 60 point was more a random entry, sorry, a random rather than it should be below here. I'm not going to change it. It's just the principle of it. I am concerned that the FTSE just passed me over a buy entry here, where this candle closed. We tested it. I was seeking another point or so. maybe I'll be given an opportunity momentarily. I still think that the trend is up. So school run today, traditional, would have shorted at 64 minus the offset, call it 60, and it would have currently have been 35 points in profit, meaning that I am currently the equivalent losing. So my approach certainly did not work. I am following the FTSE closely. Whether it will happen or not, I don't know. My stop loss is just not in the right place. Here's the status of my account. I'm gonna get stopped out now. Yeah. The US indices have deteriorated further during this session, whether that's just a result of their own momentum or a result of Europe, I don't know. What I do know is I can see how my choice of stop loss was ill-conceived. Losing 60 points, fine, but I placed my stop loss right at the old lows. It doesn't look like I'm going to be given an opportunity to enter the FTSE. So what I would like to do now I would like to wait about 3 bars now in the DAX, and maybe brunch break will give me an opportunity. Just so you are aware, in case you missed that from my text this morning, but I'm not trading the US session today. Tomorrow is normally the day where I trade for myself, but I will trade that here. But then there's a chance I won't do anything Friday. So I don't think I want to stream for another 40 minutes waiting. Actually, it's a full hour waiting for brunch break. So if I do anything, I'm going to post it in the Telegram channel. I think that's the best outcome. FTSE so far is eluding me an opportunity to buy it at 21. It went as low as 22. So, not a great morning, 2 losing trades, and my account status is now, I've gone from 14,400 to 14,000. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I will be back tomorrow morning, but I will post in Telegram if I do anything. Okay? Thanks a lot for being here, and good luck today. It looks like it's going to be another volatile one. Bye for now.